All right, so I'm gonna make sure I pressed play this time or start this time. So we are on article summary 10. Our article summary today is Beyond Stereotypes, Understanding, Recognizing, and Working with Twice Exceptional Learners. This one was quite interesting only because I have 2 exceptional learners in the class that I work in, and it was interesting to read about exceptional learners. Looking at, let's start with the first one. Lance is a 2nd grade student with autism spectrum disorder. He spends half of his time in special ed classes, and he receives reading and math instruction as well as social skills training while he's in there. This kind of pointed out to me, the piece was, Lance likes school and the teacher says that he worked hard, but he finds it to be confusing and unpredictable, particularly when instruction or directions are presented orally with few or no visuals. When he is stressed or confused, he will twirl his hair, flap his hands, or begin to cry. This kind of pointed out to me only because I do have a child in my classroom who is on the spectrum. He's not autistic. Haven't been diagnosed with autism yet, but he's on the spectrum, and some of that stuff related to the things that I see in the classroom. He's a very above, sort of average or almost above grade level kid. He's super smart. He loves school. He loves to read. He loves math. So this kind of stood out to me, and also the behaviors that Lance showed in this article and some of the behaviors that the kid shows in my class are kind of similar. So that was interesting to see as well. It also says here, sometimes he begins to cry. The student that I have, sometimes he cries when he's frustrated, or when he doesn't quite understand, or when it's just too much going on in the classroom, he can't focus. So that's a thing. I want to go to the next one. Let's see. Pedro. Let's go to Pedro. Pedro's a 9th grader at a large urban high school. He likes his physical education and music classes, but he really enjoys his pre-engineering computer-aided design class and shows great aptitude. He participates on the school's football and track team. I think it's great to have children with exceptionalities in sports or in some type of club or group or something that they like to do, because that kind of alleviates their stress from the school day. It also alleviates their stress during the school day. It depends on what it is. And also 9th grade is kind of a hard grade to step into because it's the first year of high school. And they just came out of middle school and they're trying to adapt to a new world, a new life. That's when they, make lots of friends. Friends are very important to them. So that one was another point I wanted to point out. And then there was a definition. It says definition of twice exceptionality, national twice exceptional community of practice. Twice exceptional individuals evidence exceptional ability and disability, which results in unique sets of circumstances. Their exceptional abilities may dominate hiding their disability. Their disabilities may dominate hiding their exceptional abilities, which is true. And I actually have, side note, a tattoo that says that. It says abilities outweigh disabilities, because sometimes one or the other overshadows itself. So, their disabilities may show more than their abilities, or their abilities may show more than their disabilities. So I found that very true, and very that hit me as one main point in the article, just because I always believed in that, and I've always followed that. So that was one in particular part that I was kind of proud to see. Let's see. So the next part is things I already knew. I know that the word exceptionalities is used more or less than the word disability, because they try to leave the disability out of the person and talk about the person. I think we had an article on that earlier in the semester about look at the person first, not disability. So I like that use the word exceptionalities because there are a lot of kids that are exceptional, but they don't have physical disabilities. They just maybe have mental or behavioral disabilities. The other thing I already knew was about strengths and interests. Strengths and interests are important to those children because you want to find what they are interested in, what they enjoy to do, so that they have other alternatives when they need a break from school. Also, their strengths will help you to determine how to approach the child with the lesson that they're going to learn or the intervention that they may need for that subject. And also it can show you the challenges that they have and things that might need to be modified for them in their learning environment. One more thing I already knew, verbal skills, if they are delayed or lacked, that's something that needs to be kind of prioritized and needs to be added into their day so that they're able to create some type of verbal or some type of language skills so that they can express how they're feeling, answer questions, that type of thing. Even if it's not verbally, it could be ASL or, you know, whatever way that they communicate. That should be added into their day, more of a priority into their day. Let's see, the next half is things I learned. Let's see, some things I learned about this article. I want to go down to learning needs, where it has the second critical consideration involves the student's learning needs, like the strengths and interest area and their questions for the problem-solving team to ask to help them determine a plan. I think that is important. That's something that I sort of have trouble with understanding, is how they come up with the things that they do. Is it strictly off of observation and data that they took, or do they really include the child if the child is old enough to make decisions for themselves? Do they include the child in making those decisions so that they have an opinion in how they're learning and what they're learning? Because I think that's important, you know, to ask the child what they like and dislike, so that we can find a way for them to enjoy or like it, or just be okay with it enough to learn. So I think that's something that I learned. Social and emotional needs are very important that I learned in this article. I think that we kind of lack that in schools sometimes, or we start off working on it, but then we kind of stray away and we don't really work on it as much. So I think it's super important, and I think that we need to keep working on it, and also make it a priority, especially for these kids that are suffering from these exceptionalities. The last one had where it was set up with the child and it had the writing over it for their exceptionality criteria, their plans, and I liked that it had each thing written out for them. So strengths and interests, accommodations, learning needs, accommodations and modifications, social emotional needs and support. I like that it was split up that way for us to learn what possible ways they could use for each child when it came to meeting those needs. And moving on to summarizing it, overall, I took a lot away from this article, more so at the end where it had these sections separated off with different things that they can have as far as accommodations and modification goes. I think that's great. I wish that everything that had to do with special needs children was laid out that way, and that when they go into planning or IEP meetings or IST meetings, that they would kind of lay this stuff out first and then go into the meeting and talk about that stuff, and go down each section as they discuss and try to modify where modifications need to be done or accommodations need to be done because these are the things that the teachers are seeing, or these are the things that the parent is seeing. So yeah, I think that would be a great tool, and that's really what I took away from this the most was the bottom. To summarize off this little section here, it says research indicates that twice exceptional students require a dual enhanced emphasis approach, one that focuses on the strengths and the talents while supporting and addressing the disabilities. I think that's super important because the emphasis is on approaching the disability, but we also need to support their strengths and talents as well. Not just look so much at the disability, but their other talents as well. Twice exceptional students must have a comprehensive, individualized, flexible plan that addresses the whole child. I think that's super important too. I would hate as a parent for you to kind of single out one particular thing that my child's having trouble with when it should be my whole child that you're trying to help and come up with a plan for. Students who demonstrate gifts and talents must also have a disability but also have a disability are known as twice exceptional and do not fit the stereotypical characteristics of students with disability or giftedness. Yeah, they're kind of in between. So you kind of want to treat the disability part, but also treat the gifted part and let them enhance and grow in that gifted side that they have. So yeah, this was a very interesting article. I didn't know they were called twice exceptional learners. I just knew there were those types of kids out there. As I said, I have one in my classroom. He's super smart, but he's also on the spectrum. So yeah, this was very interesting.